I'm Carl Major, and I'm joined today with Alice Ward and Katie McAnena, and this is a real pleasure of mine to be joined by you guys. So your film Ebb and Flow is absolutely beautiful, and I think it's something that a lot of people can identify with, particularly myself as a female surfer, surfing mostly on the Atlantic coast. Perhaps not as epic waves as you guys have over there, but it was such a beautiful portrayal of life within your community and within your female surfing group. So it's my pleasure to be able to ask you a few questions about it today. So Alice Ward is the filmmaker here. Alice, this is one of your first films that you've made with C&P, is that right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, my first film.
And you recently moved over to the coast about 3 years ago. So yeah, presumably your move over there is, meeting this community and getting involved in what's going on with the women over there and the surfers over there has been what's inspired you to make the film. You also mentioned that there's a really big creative community over there that's inspired you. Could you just give me a little bit more insight into what the kind of driving forces behind portraying this epic community was for you?
Yeah, well, I moved 4 years ago now, nearly, to Sligo after university, and I was kind of blown away by this really supportive, amazing community of people in the water, and then loads of creatives as well, and they kind of melt in together. And yeah, I just wanted to capture that on screen.
So within this community, your film portrays the female surfers on the coast. Is the community that you felt particularly connected to, is it mostly women, or are there people of all genders?
I think there's people of all walks of life, men and women, but I wanted to focus on the female perspective because I feel like that's not really represented in the media. So I kind of wanted to take that outlook. But there's a really rich community of all sorts of people there as well, not just women.
Yeah, and what I really loved about your film is there's this amazing kind of juxtaposition or collaboration even between the creative side of things and this kind of epic, amazing sports person experiencing the waves and being a part of that environment. That's something that we don't see so much in surf films. Oftentimes we see the big epic rides and the wipeouts, but we don't have that kind of creative aspect to it. So can you talk us through where that came into the film, whether that was from the beginning, or whether that was really key to the film from the word go, whether that came in later more organically?
I think for me it was kind of there from the beginning. I always tried to take a kind of more creative approach, and I didn't want to just make a surf film. I wanted to make a film for everyone. And the West Coast is so beautiful and gorgeous that I think a lot of people draw inspiration from that creatively as well. So that's kind of, it was there from the beginning, definitely.
Amazing. Feels like it's a very immersive environment for you guys, and that kind of is what feeds your passion of being there. Katie, how you've traveled all over the world. You've been, you've windsurfed at Jaws. Oh my goodness! You've been to some amazing places, surfed some amazing waves, and yet in your interview, you have this incredible passion for your waves on the Atlantic coast. What's the kind of nuance there? Is it the immersiveness of being in that cold water and it being completely and utterly overpowering a lot of the time? Is it the freedom? What is it there that keeps bringing you back time and time again?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's home. Everyone loves their home. And we are just so blessed to have home coupled with these incredible conditions. So I think there's a lot of people, there's a lot of expats who live here who are still very patriotic to their own homes. They're Australian, they're South African, they're Kiwi, but they've made Ireland their home. But it's because of the conditions we have here. So I feel very blessed that I can be from Ireland, be very close to my parents and my family, and then also have this. So, it makes it easy to live here when the conditions are that good. And I suppose it's the people. Anyone who's visited Ireland or knows anyone Irish, and I know it's a bit of a cliche, but it's a very welcoming, open, friendly society. It's a wonderful environment to be in. And surfing is still a real niche to a degree here. I think Alice will attest to this. We all know each other, whether it's from Cork all the way up to Donegal. Even though the community is expanding, you're only a couple of friends away from knowing each other. So I love that about it. In that sense, no matter what craft you're on, whether it's supping, windsurfing, kite surfing, surfing, just swimming even, there's a great sense of camaraderie on the water because you're all doing something that's pretty hard, you know, in the sense of it's like, you know, freezing cold and you're in a 6 mil wetsuit. So there's that kind of sense of shared experience. And then, you know, the waves are heavy and they're hard. And so we're all kind of in awe and in respect of each other too. So I think it's a mixture of the conditions, but also, you know, being surrounded by like-minded people.
Sounds amazing. So can I move over then? I'm gonna come and
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Excellent. As soon as lockdown's ended, I'm there. It's something that I've experienced a lot. You know, I've surfed all around the world. I've been really fortunate to travel to some amazing places. And similarly, Katie, I keep coming back to my home break because it's the one place I feel really welcomed. I think there's a lot of kind of competitiveness around, especially when you're in world-class waves, around catching that wave and getting your ride when they're busy breaks. And it's really lovely to hear that where you guys are, there is that sense of friendship and camaraderie. Do you think that is particularly, and I keep coming back to this idea of it being a film about women, but do you think that's particularly amongst the women because we are underrepresented in the sport, or is that just across the board where you guys are?
What do you think? I mean, I think so. I've been lucky with my traveling that I've come across incredible women the whole way, and there is this sense of kind of being the underdog purely through your gender, and that's okay to say because there are less women. You know, you are marginalized in these sports, but it's obviously expanding, which is fantastic. But you know, it takes a certain mindset to want to get up at 6 in the morning, get into a wetsuit, jump in the sea, and then couple that with, you know, the level of sport you're at. You're narrowing your group of friends down to a really small minutia. So if you can't form a bond with people like that, and you can't make friendships, then it just lends itself to making really strong, long-lasting relationships.
That's so lovely. So obviously last year was a bit rubbish for a lot of people who maybe surf sporadically, couldn't get to the coast. One thing I'm really interested in about this film is it portrays your time in the ocean, your connection to the ocean, your sports that you do there. I mean, I use the word sports, but it's your connection there. It portrays that as such a huge part of your life and such a huge sort of daily part of your life, at creating that incredible work-life balance that you guys have. And that's something I know you were really passionate about portraying, Alice. And last year, a lot of people couldn't get to the coast. You guys living there, how important was that for you getting through last year? And I think this is specifically for you, Katie. You work as a doctor. You obviously have a pretty stressful job. You've got a couple of kids. I can imagine that's quite trying at times. How important is the ocean for you to be able to have it on a daily basis and to be able to create that balanced lifestyle?
Oh, I mean, it's you can't even explain it. It's so fortunate, and it kept me sane. And I know, you know, especially for Alison, I'll let her take over in a second here for her own experience. But it really highlighted to us when we got limited in Ireland. We got limited to 2K at one stage. You know, 2 kilometers of a radius. And when I look at my 2 kilometers, I have like some of the best waves in Ireland, but also incredible, beautiful beaches, children's amenities, play parks, just the great outdoors, completely unspoilt. So, oh my goodness, you know, even if it was just a swim, and there was a point where no one was even surfing. So, you know, the message from the Irish Surfing Association and the RNLI was just stay out of the water, and everyone really obeyed by it. You know, no one got in, but and that was hard too because you were watching it, and there was a period where the waves were quite good, but there was a real sense of community. But you know, that passed quite quickly. They realized, look, it's an individual sport. You're safe. You're not, you know, you can socially distance and everything else. So, oh, it's been life giving, and and there's been an explosion of sea swimmers in Ireland. I don't know if you guys have felt that in the UK as well. Yeah, which has been amazing, you know, seeing teenagers all the way through to like people in their 70s and 80s just getting into the sea every day. So that's been a huge bonus maybe from the whole thing. But I know Alice maybe might take over because for her, you know, it was different because of her.
Yeah,
To go for that.
For our first lockdown was 2K, so I was about 7 or 8K from the beach. So I decided to be very well behaved, and I think around week 5 or 6 I probably lost my mind. Like I went mad, and then they lifted it to 5K, and then once I got back in the water, it was amazing. And but yeah, that 6 weeks, I really truly realized how much like I rely on the ocean, kind of mental health wise. It's so important. I think that's why so many people have taken to the sea this year, especially. It just resets you 100%.
Absolutely. Something about that cold water as well, isn't there? I love the comments about how you can go to somewhere really hot, but it's such a faff having to put on your sun cream, and you get in the Atlantic and you're instantly refreshed. You're a new person all over again. It's such a wonderful, wonderful place to be. That's really great that you guys have had an explosion in people getting in the water as well. What do you feel we need to do to get more people connected to the water? Do you think there's an issue with people having a lack of connection to the ocean? Do you think there's more we need to be doing there?
Yeah, I think for a while there maybe we were leaning away from nature, but this year especially kind of has brought us back to us. I think maybe more representation for younger girls, maybe to encourage them to get into the water. Might be something needed a bit more to get more teenagers surfing, etc.
Yeah, sports development wouldn't be anywhere near as strong here as it would be in the UK. So, in terms of like the funding and the incentives and just even the infrastructure for getting teens and youths and groms into the water, be it girls or boys, is definitely, I mean, my husband's from Northern Ireland. I can see the supports that are even in Northern Ireland and the UK versus, or Britain versus Ireland, south of Ireland. So that's one of the main things. You live in a coastal town like this, and 90% of the kids don't surf. They play other kind of land sports, which is fine, or they don't do anything at all. And then a lot of them, when they move back in their 20s and 30s, might take up surfing and say, my God, this was here this whole time and I didn't know. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of work could be done to try and make it more accessible.
Sure. So what was it that got you into surfing, Katie? Because obviously this has become your life. You're
Yeah. Well, I grew up in a city called Galway, which is just south of here, and it's a flat water bay, so there's no waves. But I picked up windsurfing. That's kind of my main sport, and it was all flat water. But that's kind of how you have to learn, and supping on flat water and everything. And then from there, there's a natural progression, which kind of came perfectly in time with me being able to drive and go on adventures and things like that. And then, yeah, you meet a community of people in all the different spots. So when you go out, you're not going to be on your own, and you start to learn how to read the forecast and understand when to go. So it was just a natural evolution from windsurfing, I think.
Fantastic. So Alice, I want to know a little bit about the filming process for you. So this was your first film that you've made with C&P, and I'd like to know if there's anything that you really took away from this experience of creating the film, especially getting out into these massive waves and filming these amazing women. Is there anything that you took away from it that either you've got a little bit of advice for someone starting out, or something that you would do differently another time?
Yeah, well, I had never filmed in the water before, so that was a huge learning curve. But I just started off small and kind of worked my way up, and I'd always swim out with the girls or someone I knew I felt safe with and they were aware. So start small, ease your way up, and kind of the scary things for me at the start seem like so normal now that I wouldn't bat an eyelid. So it's just like slow progress, but you'll get there, I think.
And once we are released, do you have travel plans or plans to create any more films, either close to home or a bit further afield?
Hopefully. I mean, I'm not making any plans now because I don't want to get disappointed. But yeah, I have one or two projects that couldn't go ahead because of lockdown, surf related. So hopefully they'll pick back up. But no plans yet. Just enjoying where we are.
I love that. One of the things I noticed in the film, we have this incredible footage of the ocean, just mind-blowingly beautiful, really immersive. Huge waves, the girls shredding on these waves. Obviously, beautiful outdoor scenes. Contrasting with interviews which were indoors of the women. And for me, there was a really stark contrast between the two different scenes. And I found that even as a surfer myself, I found that it made the women that we were talking to much more relatable. You know, we can see them in a life that we are more used to seeing people in than out in the waves on this massive windsurfing rig. Was that intentional to have that kind of contrast between life on land and what's going on in the water?
No, it's just because the weather was so bad. There's no way we can film outdoors with wind and stuff. I was always going to be indoors, but it's nice that you picked it up like that. But no, Irish winter.
Brilliant. So I suppose that we're coming to the end of our interview, but I just wanted to say, absolutely beautiful film. It really struck a chord with me, especially this idea of really enjoying the place that we live and the kind of our local area and celebrating that for everything that it gives to us. I suppose I've got, if you could give me one kind of bit of advice, Katie, to someone who's trying to get into surfing or who wants to go and spend some time in the sea, from the ultimate pro, someone who's surfing these massive waves and out there every day, what is it that you could say to perhaps a young lady, a young woman who's watching this, or a young person who's watching this, thinking, I'd like to do what Katie's doing?
Sure, go for it. And don't hold yourself back by any kind of ideas that you can't do anything. Start small, just like Alice said, work your way up. And I think the most important thing is to surround yourself with really positive people. So surfing does sometimes kind of nurture sometimes quite negative, kind of competitive, kind of gruff attitudes on the water. To stay away from that. It'll only kind of bring you down. Just get with people who are doing it for the right reasons. It's not about competition. It's not about the photograph. It's not about the Instagram post. It's about how good you feel when you're out there. And if that's why you're doing it, if you're doing it purely for the love of it, you will start and you won't stop.
I love that. Thank you, Katie. Alice, any last bits of advice for anybody watching this who thinks, I want to be in there filming these waves, I want to go and create my own films?
I'd just say, just do it. Yeah. Don't listen to anyone. And if you want to do it, get a camera, however good or bad, and just start filming. And yeah.
Amazing. Thank you guys so much. Ebb and Flow is a wonderful film, and I wish you all the best of luck in your next endeavours. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Cal. Thanks.